Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Chelsea Echo, and welcome to your not quite instant reaction, but your reaction pod to Xabi Alonso being formally announced as Chelsea manager. We also had a quick voice note review come out yesterday on socials. We do apologise for the lack of stuff on the audio feeds. We're going to rectify that very soon. Obviously, if you watch on YouTube, hello. Thank you very much for joining us. If you enjoy the content, please subscribe, drop a like, comment, all that good stuff. And if you are going to listen to an audio platforms, Dan, what should people be doing?
Well, they should be sharing. They should be giving it a 5-star review,
Yes,
non-negotiable.
exactly.
Five
Okay,
stars
yeah,
is the appropriate number of stars.
exactly. Which is what we can say about, in the grand scheme of things, compared to BlueCo's former fiasco, is how we can review this appointment. Xabi Alonso, 5 stars, a great appointment, and probably, Dan, don't know about you, the best appointment BlueCo have made since they've come into Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there could be a counter argument. I was happy when Pochettino arrived. In the end, like I think Maresca did some good work, but this is kind of a different level, I think, because even with Pochettino, who I have great respect for, um, this he does not even even with his success since he initially left the Premier League. Alonso just is a level of pedigree of coach. This is not someone years past their prime has kind of had a few difficult moments. This is someone who is one of the most, I think, desirable and kind of respected and exciting coaching minds, I think, currently in European football. And it is kind
Mm.
of it feels like a bit of a minor miracle we've been able to get him, kind of aided by the situation, right? Like if Liam Rosenior doesn't get sacked, if Chelsea's season doesn't completely spiral, and Liverpool take an alternative stance with Arne Slot. There was even still, I was having conversations with people on Saturday during the FA Cup final. Like there was still a belief that maybe like kind of 11th hour Liverpool turnaround with what happened with Arne Slot and obviously with Liverpool and the Salah stuff going on. But so it's given Chelsea a bit of a free run, absolutely. But um, to convince him to get him in, it's undeniably a success. Well, it's undeniably the right appointment. Whether it will turn out to be a
Mm.
successful appointment, we cannot say right now. But I think anyone saying it's a rubbish appointment, I haven't seen anyone suggesting that. Like I think even if you're the most anti-blue co out person in the world, I think there is a admission that this is at the very least on the face of it the right sort of appointment that a club like Chelsea should be making.
Careful, Dan. The more you say stuff like that, the more we're going to sound like brown envelopes, and we can't be having that. Okay,
Oh
that's
yeah, I
we
mean,
can't.
listen,
That.
I've
We
been,
can't. We
yeah,
can't give positivity at any point
no, we
whatsoever.
can't. I
Not
mean,
allowed.
listen, I lost count over the years of the number. See, the thing is, the brown envelope people think they're new, but this is old school stuff for me. Like I was being accused of being paid off by Frank, by Mason Mount, by Cobham. I mean, I lost count of the number of people and conflicted people I was being paid off by as well. Like it was remarkable apparently. So it's nothing new. But this is what we talk about, right? This is what I think this is what I do on my show. This is what we aim to do on this podcast, right? It's honesty. It's what we honestly
Mm.
feel about the club. Like I honestly feel that Xabi Alonso is a good appointment.
Yeah.
If it goes well, I'm going to talk about how it's going well. And if people get annoyed at me because I'm giving my honest opinion, then like that's their
Mm.
problem. That's not mine.
What I will say on that front, guys, is that Dan is a little bit more positive than me in most cases. So it's going to take a little bit more to win me over, and it's still going to take a lot to win Dan over because, as you can tell, we both still aren't completely convinced by how they're doing things. But I think it is fair to say, like, this is a step in the right direction. This is definitely, when you look at the potential of the situation, the best position Chelsea have ever been in. I mean, just I've got his honours up here now, right? Not just as a manager, but as a player as well. Playing career, Sociedad, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, honours, FA Cup, Champions League, Super Cup. I believe that is the Copa del Rey, DFB Pokal, Bundesliga, La Liga, Euro 2008, World Cup, Euro 2012 as a manager. Bayer Leverkusen, Real Madrid, honours, Bundesliga, German Super Cup, DFB Pokal, and not to mention sort of the way that he holds himself in the game as well. I think that's
Yeah.
something which is very important. Um, in terms of what we've got on the opportunity, um, I do wonder, or as Dan often likes to use the word, ponder, uh, how he is going to settle into this structure. Because the one thing that did worry me was the positivity he had in regards to the model. And we've heard this obviously many times from many different coaches who have been promised things and things haven't quite been delivered. And I think that's something which will leave quite a bitter taste, or a very bitter taste, in Chelsea fans' mouths if this doesn't work out.
Hmm.
He is the most qualified person in that room. Maybe Dave Fallows, maybe, but he's not. His role within the structure is to deal with youth players, not to deal with the overall thing. So when he sits in a room with Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, I really hope that, especially given the fact that we'll touch on now, he's been given the title of manager. Um, he actually will be given the role of a manager within this structure, not just a head coach. Because, I mean, the fact that I felt an interesting fact, so we're doing this on Monday morning, obviously. I was on Trap Radio this morning. We were talking about the appointment, and they gave me a great stat. You and I love a stat, Dan, if it makes sense. We're not stat shaggers, but if it fits what we need to talk about, we'll put it through. That makes it sound like we're trying to create our own narrative, but we're not. It's just adding to it. The fact that the last football coach, that was given that title at Chelsea was Mourinho in 2013, I think that says a lot about a potential change. But I mean, as much as we're very positive about that, let's go through what he can bring to the table in that role, in that position, and what we think he could work with. But then obviously look at the potential pitfalls that may be ahead of the Spaniard.
Well, I think in terms of, obviously, I think tactically he's not a million miles away from what was kind of working when it was at its best under Enzo Maresca, right? I think he tactically he has a very modern approach in terms of, I think he has a belief in possession, which is always an interesting dynamic with Chelsea. But I think structurally it's quite interesting, and what I think people have latched onto is whether it's a bit too simplistic, but formation wise, overall, and it did fluctuate, it was flexible, it was fluid, it wasn't always like set out like this. The 3-4-3 was kind of the system he used to great effect at Bayer Leverkusen, and ironically, it's a system that kind of the last two elite or most successful managers or coaches at Chelsea that people would reference, Thomas Tuchel and Antonio Conte, used, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a system that Chelsea fans know well, and given watching that FA Cup final, you could see the bare bones of what Alonso could do in that sort of shape, right? And how some of the
Mm-hmm.
players could benefit from that shape with obviously successful additions in the transfer window. Belief in counter press, belief in giving players a very clarified idea of what they're supposed to do on the pitch, but also a bit of freedom dependent on game state. And
Mm-hmm.
dependent on what the opponent is providing, like to win a league title, like whatever people say about someone's structure, right? To win a league title, especially over Bayern Munich, like you have to be flexible. You have to win any league title. You have to have an adaptability. You have to be able to do several things at once. There's not a champion that hasn't been able to do that, right? Because over the course of whether it's in the Premier League or somewhere else, a 38 game season, you encounter different things, you encounter different obstacles. There is a variety to what Alonso does, as people have already talked about some of the ways in which Alex Grimaldo, Granit Xhaka, Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, especially from a wing-back point of view, seem to really thrive. But there's no guarantee that he continues with that system at Chelsea. He maybe walks in on day one and looks at Chelsea and thinks, well, actually, what I want to do is more settled overall, so maybe a four at the back. I don't think we should get at this very early stage without seeing anything. I think we can. It's exciting to theorize and it's exciting to look at something, but I think tactically the thing that kind of stands out to me, he is very in with the modern trends. Like this is not. I think one of the biggest criticisms you could have of Pochettino was that maybe he'd been behind those trends. I also don't think to counter it with another contender for this role, Areola. My big concern tactically with Areola was it was very intense and it demanded a lot of players, and it was so front-footed that a bit like Pochettino, if it starts to go wrong, it can look really bad very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that there's maybe a bit more of a balance to what Alonso can do. Um, but yes, it's going to be intriguing. Like I think that obviously there's still, from my point of view, and we've discussed this before, like culturally, if you've got a coach that believes in possession football, right? Like this always seemed to grate against Chelsea, and I always feel like Chelsea forces any head coach that tries that to eventually revert to what Chelsea's actually best at, which is kind of our underdog, kind of weird counter-attacking spirit. So I do as well
Mm.
ponder whether he will adapt to Chelsea as much as Chelsea adapting, to him,
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, I've got up here as something very interesting. I mean, we've talked about a base shape that he uses, which is like a 3-4-3. I'm not going to, overdo it, a 3-4-2-1, but that shape I think is something which this team is built for. But you talk about him being able to develop and use different formations in different points in the season, in the 24-25 season when they won the league. Uh, they went through various shapes. They played, obviously, the vast majority of the games, as we discussed, with 3-4-3, 27. Next one, 3-5-2 was 8 games, 4-2-3-1, 5 games, 4-4-2, 3 games, 4-5-1, 3 games, and a 4-4-1-1-2 games. So the good thing about this, I think, contrary to previous appointments, he doesn't seem as dogmatic potentially in his style, and I think that that's something which could really aid this squad, and I think it'll be something which would be really really important, sort of for him anyway, to spot very early doors who is capable of making their own decisions on the pitch and developing, which is I think a big issue for this Chelsea
could I?
squad currently.
So too, I just also something that I picked out when I was writing my piece for Substack was I found a quote from the sporting director at Bayer Leverkusen, who we had a great relationship with, and he was referring to the fact that he thought a lot of the success was because of Alonso's experience as a player
Hmm.
and being in those elite environments a lot. And I do ponder as well that like Alonso's a very intelligent guy, and mutual friend or mutual adversary at times, Jay McIntosh. We
Bloody
we
vegan.
talk we talk a lot about how like there's just a blunt reality to Chelsea culture that
Yeah.
at the end of the day we're not, as fans, as Chelsea fans, we don't really care about a style of football. Like I've got to be honest, like there's interesting things about it, but I think to our DNA, it's just about winning. It's just find a way to,
Um,
well, okay,
I
there is
don't
there
know.
is new
I
there is
think it's different
nuance.
to
There is
that.
nuance. What I think it's not as simple as like just no one's going to be happy with Alonso turning up and punting the ball long for 90. That's not what I'm saying. I think what I mean by that, and kind of to branch out what I mean by that, is that versatility, adaptability,
Yeah.
realism. Not, I think what Chelsea fans, I'm pretty confident what Chelsea fans are not buying is this holistic view of football that you play one style, and if it starts to go wrong, you stick with that style no matter what. I
Hmm.
think that that is something that I can pretty confidently say. I think that there is, you look at all the best Chelsea coaches, right? Jose, I always will defend till I die, basically, that he created some of the most beautiful football that we've seen as Chelsea fans. Like anyone who tries to hoodwink you that somehow Jose Mourinho style at Chelsea never produced good football, but there was a chameleon. That's the word I'll use. The best Chelsea teams to me, they can fight you or they can beat you technically. And I think that
Hmm.
that is something that Alonso, because of his ample experience, not only now as a coach winning a league title and winning trophies, but also in the dugout, also in the dressing room of these places, he will understand with the coaches he's worked under, very elite coaches, some of the greatest we've ever known, that you have to be flexible. You have to shapeshift at times. There are principles. It's not that I'm telling Alonso or any coach to abandon their principles, but there's a time and a place for these things. And I think Liam Rosenior was kind of the sharp end of, and Graham Potter too, of like the naivety in those moments of not grasping the club you're at and not grasping what is needed in those moments. So I think that that's what encourages me, because above all else, Louis, and you may disagree, I want to just have pride watching Chelsea again. I want to be excited going to Stamford Bridge. I want to see a football team again. And this is the most lazy, basic analysis I've ever done in my life, but I want to feel something again watching Chelsea. I want to feel that the team is a unit, like a
Yeah.
physically robust, intense, elite unit. Like it's like what Tuchel said, right? I want to make Chelsea a team that nobody wants to play against. I want
Mm.
Chelsea to become that team again. And there are
Mm.
tools to make that happen even within the current group. It's not that he starts from a base of the most rubbish Chelsea squad ever. Like, no, there are very talented players within there. The problem
Mm.
is, I think it's a combination of the flaws within the very obvious flaws technically within the group and physically within the group. It's also the culture that has been allowed to
Yeah.
seep in for a long period of time that he needs to overcome, right? Like he needs to be the lightning rod really for a cultural change. And I almost refer to it like this has to be the retcon moment in the BlueCo era. Like this is the moment, like in like a TV show or a film where they forget the bad film that they just did and they go in a completely different direction because the fans revolted against a new narrative. Like
Yeah.
we're rewriting the script here and we're pretending that crap didn't happen. Like that awful ending to the last film did not happen because it was terrible. We're retconning it and we're going back in a good direction. Like Star Wars, but hopefully less crap.
Yeah. Like James Bond, hopefully, when they killed him, because that was stupid. But me and you
We're
discussed
not
that
we're not
already.
going we're not going into our No Time to Die debate again.
We're not doing that. That was, yeah, by the way, just so you know, you're fucking wrong and I'm right. But we'll carry on with that. But I mean, like
Are
you
you are
talk
you
about.
playing a? Look, here's the thing, right? Here's a quick. We've got to get some silly in the show. Are you gonna play First Light, the new Bond game? Because I'm
I
definitely
see.
playing First Light.
I want to play it, but I could never get into Hitman. So I'm a bit
Mm.
worried that I'm already annoyed at James Bond. I'm then going to play this game and then get even more annoyed. Um, but then at the same time, Callum Turner, listener of the pod, I think. At least I hope he did when I spoke to him about it. The next James Bond might be listening to the Chelsea Echo because he is a Chelsea fan. But I think realistically, I probably will play it. I'm replaying Mafia at the minute because I'm going to play the new
Oh,
Mafia. New one.
Mafia 2 is one of my favorite games of all time.
Well,
I
so
love that
I've got
game.
the definitive edition trilogy. So I've got the remastered number one, remastered two, and remastered three. So I'm playing all of them through, and then I'm going to get the new game, which is obviously not new now, but I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm probably going to have a little go at that when because I'm moving as well at the minute. So got to get lots of things going at the minute. Spinning lots of plates, mate. That's what it's all about. But
Mm.
talking of spinning plates, I mean, look back onto Xabi Alonso. You mentioned some of the coaches he's played under and how he's kind of developed and all that sort of stuff. And we're talking about retcon moments and opportunities. I mean, we've spoken about his trophy cabinet. Let's talk about who he's played under and sort of who he's learnt those lessons from. Benitez, obviously, less said the better. Let's be honest.
Mm.
Mourinho, Ancelotti, Guardiola, Del
Oh,
Bosque,
oh,
uh, Adam Gomez, John Toshak, maybe not him, Miguel Angel Latina, Jupp Heynckes, Manuel Pellegrini. I mean, the coaches he has played under, if you talk about a footballing education, right, you have got like we'll go back into like movie territory here. Like you've got the light and the dark side of the force there. You've got Mourinho, you've got Guardiola, you've got Benitez, you've got Del Bosque. I mean, honestly, like the names that you get there and the mentalities that he's been able to develop. I mean, just off the back of this, they're saying he has often looked at things from each thing as a coach. Guardiola's positional play being massive for him. Mourinho's competitiveness and structure, which you touched on. My favourite one, which I think is such an undervalued asset, which I really think he harnessed well at Bayer Leverkusen. Will remain to be seen if he can do it at Chelsea. But Ancelotti's man management, Benitez's tactical detail, I don't know about that, and Del Bosque's calm leadership. Because one thing I will say is he is he has I'm not going to use the word aura, but he definitely has a bit of an air about him where he seems that he can just walk on water almost.
yeah.
It's not it's like
I
he looks
mean,
he's a bit like
listen, right? Like, in terms of good-looking head coaches, we both heterosexual guys here. Like, we've got to admit, like, Xabi Alonso now goes. You do look and go like a fair play. Like that's someone who could play James Bond, to be honest, and I'd be well into it.
yeah.
So
Imagine a Spanish James Bond. Shaka no step. Gracias. It's like, okay, right, good, all right. Sí, sí. Mr. Bond, would you like caviar? No, do you have any patatas bravas? So
Yeah.
it's not
Oh,
whatever.
we went for some tapas recently, and more excuse to have more patatas bravas. Yeah, more excuse. Wait, when I went to listen, it was all lined up. When I went to Madrid, recently, one of Alonso's last locations, it's all coming together, and I think they sell Madri at the bridge now, so it was all in
Yeah,
preparation for this.
I'm I'm going to burst your bubble for this though with Madri. Okay, you
Yes,
do
it's made in
realise that
Yorkshire. It's made in Yorkshire.
Madri is the old Carling recipe. So they
Mm.
took the old when they redid the recipe for Carling and did all that rebranding for it. They took the old recipe and slapped a Spanish man on it. So it's
Yeah, but
actually
but,
Bert
but
from
no
Burton.
one needs to really no one needs to know the truth. Like we can just go with the gimmick. Go with the gimmick.
Yeah, it's true. I'll have a Cruz Campo instead. That's if I'm going to have a
Cruz
pint.
Campo, yeah.
It's good. And I can't. That's you were throwing it back. Before you joined the Chelsea Echo Dan, we did have beer debates, and that's something which I think we still need to do. I do want to have a Chelsea Echo branded beer at some point. That'd be fun. Um, but anyway, yeah, I think if you look at Alonso's footballing education, what he's already achieved, I I'm very happy, right, and I'm very excited. However, I am also filled with trepidation at him
Yeah.
going into what is quite frankly an absolute madhouse. Now, he dealt with a madhouse at Real Madrid, right? But that's a madhouse which almost still understood who it was. It's Real Madrid. They went in as he is, despite the fact of his presence and who he is to that club. He very much, had to deal with prima donnas and people who think they're Galacticos because they play for Real Madrid. The problem is now he's going to have to deal with an owner in Benedict Barley who thinks he's Florentino Perez and isn't. And he's going to deal with sporting directors who think they're Tichy Bergestan, but there's five of them and none of them are. And I do worry about how he will deal with that situation because
Mm.
we've seen, obviously, previously, when you look at Maresca and you look at Pochettino left because the transfer policy just wasn't helping him and it wasn't helping the team. It was very much just to make money, despite the fact they're saying they want to compete. Maresca massively overachieved, asked for one thing. They said no and gave him three things that he didn't need, which then completely imbalanced the squad and made everything go pear shaped, and he had nothing left. So I do worry that, given the track record of BlueCo, they're very much going to be looking at this situation and think, right, we've given him the title of manager. Let's press that PR. Let's spin it. Let's spin
Mm.
it. Let's spin it. Let's spin it. And then it's going to be something which is going to buy them 3 or 4 months, maybe a bit longer, to do something stupid and can persist with something stupid. But they'll say, but we've changed his title to manager. So it almost gives them that extra meat shield in an Alonso shape with the
Yeah.
extra paperwork.
Yeah, I absolutely can see that, right? And I think that's logical, right? Until it's like a base level thing for me, like until we see competent decision making over an extended period of time, all of these criticisms and fears are valid. That's just baked in, right? I do, just thinking about it today, I do wonder if it's, although they're not publicly going to say it, I also wonder if the manager title is an admission of failure. It is, and again, we may not know this publicly, but it was the only way this deal could have happened.
Mm.
And they have kind of been put in a sticky situation from their perspective, that this is, I think Inspector Chelsea put it brilliantly, this is like a Hail Mary attempt to save the club. And I agree, it kind of is. It kind of is the, just the Gary Neville thing, like the one that can't fail. And it really can't fail for Chelsea. Like this is we have internally, there might be panic. As much as the external briefing is always about how great things are, internally, we have to consider the possibility that it's the complete opposite. and that
Mm-hmm.
this is a panicked move. I'm not saying that as a criticism that it's the wrong move. I'm saying like they have realized that all of their errors have led them to this, like, back to being serious, and it's got them to the right appointment, but it's why, like, maybe the structure has changed, right? And um or the idea that Alonso is going to be given, because I said this months ago, if Alonso comes in or anyone of his stature comes in, he instantly overnight becomes the most elite person in the entire structure. And with
Yeah.
that comes an intimidation. But what it should do is provide an opportunity for the club to feel some, like, privilege, really, that they've been able to get him, and lean on that experience, lean on his know-how, and actually start to do things in a proper way. Um, Listen, I think that all of us know, and we will sit here in this podcast in August, and we will diagnose and assess whether much has changed, because as much as there's rightly a positivity or an optimism and a root for hope at Chelsea again for a lot of us with Alonso's appointment, if he has served up the same quality of recruitment that Maresca and Pochettino have been, I'm not going to blame Alonso before a Premier League ball has even been kicked, but we will just sit here once again and go, well, actually, nothing has changed.
Mm.
Um, and until, like, so, if we go out quickly and sign Mike Magnon, we sign a proper upgrade in central defence. You sign a dynamic wing back, right? Someone who is going to come in and really suit what Alonso wants to do, and maybe an elite level or a ready-made Premier League level starter in an attacking sense, wherever that is. Then I think we all turn around and go, on the face of it, you can't really argue it's the same as the previous windows. Like, we're not, but if it's another window of Amari Kellerman's and PSR shenanigans and the squad just fundamentally getting weaker, and Benanotte loans on deadline day, we know, we've been here before. That is the expectation. The expectation is a bad transfer window. The expectation is that Chelsea are not going to do anything good in the transfer window. That is my perspective for a while, has been damage limitation. The less we do, the better. But obviously, it's not. We have to do something, but it's not. I don't have trust that these people know what they're going to do. The hope is that with Alonso's know-how and his influence, there is going to be a change. There is going to be some variation that gets us back into a more competent, line of thinking. And also, without European football, which is maybe better for Alonso in his first year, you've seen the benefit to Manchester United this year, right? Um, of, if Alonso only has one game a week and he is able to embed his ideas consistently, um, maybe that's of some benefit for a first year. I don't know. It's not something that I don't crave being out of European football. Just even like Conference League, that was such a laugh, the final, that, I'd like to, and also I think the good thing about the Conference League or the Europa League is that it gives him the chance to blood some youngsters, right? And look at maybe alternative options. That if it's just the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the League Cup, I think there's probably less chance to do that. So that would also be my perspective, because I'm looking at Josh. Is this the opening for Josh Achimpong that we've desperately wanted for him, right, at right centre back?
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's what I'm very excited about. I think look, there's definitely a whole other pod in the dream transfer window for you and I. And I think, to be honest, that's probably something which we can do with our special at the end of the season, which we're going to be doing with Jay and Sire, which we're both really looking forward to. But I think there is definitely going to need to be some massive sweeping changes. But what I will say is this is a step in the right direction. Um, so now you've got a competent manager. Get rid of the deadwood. Don't brief you're going to sign height and power at centre back and go and sign Tosin on a free. Go and bring in some competent signings and get a shirt sponsor. If Chelsea do that before they kick a ball in August, I mean that is going to show to me that there has definitely been a change in tact. Um, but it remains to be seen. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I think this is a step in the right direction. But right now, it's only a small one. let's see if he gets given the tools he needs and can develop something which can really help him push on, especially into the next season. Dan, I think we're going to win it all, but apart from that, we will leave it there. But guys, that has been your reaction to Xabi Alonso being announced as Chelsea manager. Let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Are you excited, or are me and Dan just massive brown envelopes who are pushing things for BlueCo because we can't be excited about anything? We'll be back with our preview for Spurs, which is the first midweek preview Dan and I have done all season, but you kind of have to with what is on the line for that game. If you have enjoyed this, please make sure you hit the sub button down below. Hit the bell if you want to get a notification every time a video is uploaded on this channel. If you have enjoyed it and listening on audio platforms, give us a 5-star review. It really does help us out. But I have been Louis.
I've been Dan.
And this has been the Chelsea Echo. We'll see you later.